This mafia boss has finally spoken after 30 years. Who is he? Why did he stay quiet for so long? Most importantly, what did he say? Let's find out. For those who don't know, there was a famous mafia boss by the name of Michael Franzese. He had a very successful career as a mobster. But now he's going to go down in history for something else. During his time as an active mafia member, this guy never gave up any of his colleagues. He kept his mouth shut even when he was sentenced to 100 years in prison. Despite all the torture that the police put him through, he refused to cooperate. However, recently, after 30 years of total silence, he broke his silence and gave some shocking statements. So let's get right into it. Michael Franzese was one of the top earners of the mafia. It was said that he made about $2 billion back in the day. If we were to adjust that figure to inflation, it would be way over $4 billion. Michael earned all that money through illegal means, though. He was in charge of the Colombo crime family's racketeering and extortion crew. According to reports, he ran illegal gambling operations, construction scams, and various other money-making schemes. This guy was the real deal. He knew how to make money. However, in 1986, Michael's luck ran out. The FBI caught wind of his activities and decided to put an end to them. They arrested Michael and charged him with a ton of crimes. His trial began in 1987, and it was one of the biggest mafia trials since the 1960s. There was so much evidence against Michael, including wiretapped conversations and eyewitness testimony, so he wasn't really in a position to deny anything. In the end, he was convicted on all counts and sentenced to 100 years in prison. Even though he was given such a harsh sentence, Michael didn't show any remorse or sadness. He actually walked out of the courtroom smiling and told reporters that it was the best thing that could have happened to him. According to Michael, he always knew that he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison, so he might as well have done it for a crime he actually cared about. To him, being a mafia boss was way more appealing than living a normal life. But of course, everyone thought that he was just saying that. No one believed that this guy was a mafia boss. They all thought he was just a small-time criminal who got caught with the big fish. That was until recently. A few days ago, news broke out that Michael had finally confessed to being a mafia boss. This came as a huge shock to everyone, because he had been denying it for decades. In fact, he even sued several people for saying that he was a mafia boss. According to Michael, he was never a mafia boss. He was just a businessman. However, he seems to have changed his mind recently. In a recent interview, Michael finally admitted to being a mafia boss and shared some interesting insights into the mafia. So why did he confess after all these years? Well, he said that he wanted to clear his name. He was tired of people thinking that he was a made man when he wasn't. Apparently, he was never officially inducted into the mafia. As for why he never confessed before, he says that he didn't want to implicate any of his friends or family members. Now that doesn't sound like the action of a guy who was never in the mafia. If anything, it sounds like something a mafia boss would do. Whatever the reason, he finally confessed, and we got some answers. Many people are wondering why Michael became a mafia boss in the first place. What pushed him towards a life of crime? Well, according to Michael, he simply grew up around it. When he was just a child, his father was already a mafia captain, so he kind of grew up with the mafia. He saw it as a way of life. This isn't too surprising considering that many mafia families have been around for multiple generations. If your father is a mafia boss, chances are you will become one as well. Michael also revealed that there was no official induction ceremony. It was just an oral agreement between him and his father. Once he was old enough, he started working for the family and eventually became a boss. He also talked about how the mafia works, saying that it's not like the movies. In the movies, you always see the mafia bosses giving orders and having their underbosses and capos carry them out. But in reality, things are way more decentralized. According to Michael, each capo runs his own crew independently. All they have to do is report to the boss every once in a while and pay their respects. Other than that, they're pretty much on their own. He also revealed that there's no such thing as a made man. All the guys you see hanging around the boss are either relatives or close friends. They're not made men. Now, this might come as a surprise to many people, but it makes sense when you think about it. The mafia isn't some kind of gang. It's more like a business organization. Having a bunch of made men doesn't really make sense. It would just be like having a bunch of managers. It doesn't work in any company. Michael also discussed the famous Mafia Commission and how it works. For those who don't know, the Mafia Commission is basically the ruling body of the mafia. It's composed of 5 official bosses from the 5 official families. Together, they oversee the entire organization and make sure everything runs smoothly. However, Michael says that this is just a formality. The commission doesn't really do anything. The 5 bosses just meet once a year to show a united front. Other than that, they each run their own families independently. He also talked about how the FBI was able to break the Mafia. You see, back in the day, the FBI had no idea how the Mafia worked. They didn't know how to infiltrate it or break it apart, so they struggled for decades. But in the 80s, things changed. The FBI was able to get their hands on a bunch of Mafia documents. These documents contain tons of information about the inner workings of the Mafia. With this new information, the FBI was able to start taking down the Mafia. They were finally able to make arrests and get convictions. This is what led to the decline of the Mafia. Now that we know how the Mafia worked, many people are wondering where all the Mafia bosses are today. Did they all get arrested? Well, no, not exactly. Most of them are still out there, but they're all very old now. The younger generation simply isn't interested in continuing the family business. In fact, most of the younger generation has nothing to do with the Mafia. They've gone on to have normal lives. As for the older bosses, most of them have been arrested and are serving life sentences. Some of them are even dead by now. The golden era of the Mafia has definitely come to an end. Now, many people are wondering if Michael Franzese is still a Mafia boss. Is he still running the Colombo crime family? Well, not really. He may be a Mafia boss, but he's not the boss of the Colombo crime family. You see, Michael was sentenced to 100 years in prison, but he's already 76 years old, so chances are he won't make it out alive. Even if he does, he won't be the boss anymore. By the time he gets out, the Colombo crime family will have a new leader. At the end of the day, Michael Franzese was one of the most successful Mafia bosses of all time. He amassed a fortune of over $4 billion. And even though he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, he doesn't seem to regret anything. Maybe that's why he finally confessed to being a Mafia boss. He realized that it didn't matter anymore. He had nothing to lose. What do you guys think? Why do you think Michael confessed after all these years? You think he really made $4 billion? Comment your thoughts below.
Also,
Be sure to stay tuned for more amazing content. Thanks for watching.